Hi, my name is Musharraf Khan and I'm an editor of Cafe Dissensus.
Hi, my name is Marianne and I'm also an editor of Cafe Dissensus. Today we are really honored to have with us Jayan K. Cherian, poet, writer and filmmaker. We are here today to specially discuss his most recent film, Papilio Buddha, which marked his debut as a feature filmmaker. Shot in the picturesque Wayanad district of Kerala in southern India, Papilio Buddha narrates the political struggles waged by landless dalits against the state. The film poignantly captures the multiple layers of inhumanity faced by this marginalized community at the hands of state agencies, upper caste members, Gandhian politics, and well-intentioned NGOs. The film garnered much controversy owing to its raw portrayal of gender violence, police atrocities against Dalits, and its critique of Gandhian politics. It was initially banned in India, but later it was certified, but only after numerous cuts, blurs, and muted conversations. On its way now to the Berlin Film Festival, Papilio Buddha has already won numerous accolades. This includes the Special Jury Award for Direction at the 2012 Kerala State Film Awards and second prize for Best Narrative Feature Film at the Athens International Film and Video Festival. Papilio Buddha also won awards for Best Cinematographer for Mr. M.J. Radhakrishnan and Best Art Director for Manu Peruna at the 2013 Oaxaca Film Fest in Mexico. So we are really honored to have Jayan with us today, the director of Papilio Buddha.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Jayan, I'll start with the first question. Could you please tell us something about your filmmaking background? Where you were trained as a filmmaker and what are some of your previous films that you have made? Because this is not the first one that you have made. So if you could just tell us briefly.
My filmmaking training, I went to my undergrad school at Hunter College, here where I double majored there. I was a creative writing major. Then I took film major too. So I graduated with 2 degrees from Hunter College. Then I went to City College at Harlem, where I did my MFA program, which is I double majored there too in cinematography and writing directing. So that's my training. And most of my earlier works are very experimental, like doing in optical films, like 8mm, 16mm films. So that visualization extends to my other works, which is I start to explore my films, in my films, like about identities, how the identity is being performed and created, and which is sustaining different identities, whether it's gender, racial, and caste identity. One of my major work I did past is Shape of the Shapeless, which is problematizing gender identity. So before I have a little bit, I'm fortunate enough to be a student of Iranian filmmaker Abbas Kiarostami. I was one of the filmmakers in his early Hunter College masterclass program. So I did a film there. Name of the film is Tree of Life. It's a conversation with a Sikh taxi driver and a Midwestern Christian fundamentalist activist. And there I use a real person from the New York City streets, a Sikh driver, never acted, don't have that much articulation in English or education in that sense. And I pick up a real actor from one of my colleague who were acting in Broadway at that time, Steve Clark. He acted as Christian fundamentalist. That films give me very much kind of a strange style of filmmaking, to actually putting the real characters and the actors together, mixing, which I consistently experiment all of my works.
Right. So
Papilio Buddha.
coming back to Papilio Buddha, we know this is a film about about a movement for right to land by the Dalits in Kerala as well as adivasis, and their eventual displacement from the land. And also it also portrays environmental degradation and how environment is being exploited in India by the mining mafia and others. And now the question that I have here for you is, how long did it take for you to make the film? Like from conceiving to executing the whole process, how long did it take? That's first. And were you depicting any particular political movement, or was it a narrative that was imposed over quite a few movements which were happening over a period of time in Kerala?
That's a good question. The thing is that when I was in school, as an undergrad in Kerala, in one college, which is under Gandhian University, I was very much active in one of the Maoist groups, in Excellence in one group there, and I had an opportunity to work with one of the youth organization during when I was a student there. So and I was in charge of Idiki district, and I have an opportunity to go to visit villages, especially colonies, Dalit colonies and Adivasi colonies. So I was exposed to that world before, but that late 80s politics was drastically changed, and that most of this movement was earlier was done by the progressive intellectuals or the Maoist or CPM or any kind of left-wing people. But early 90s we can see one phenomenally change in this world, and Dalit people rejecting this upper class, middle class, intellectual liberators, and there is their own leaders emerge, and they initiate a new politics. When I was here, I was a student in New York. Still, I was observing. I have connections there. I was watching this thing. Then we can see that there's the first struggle in Mutanga. It was the indigenous struggle, Adivasi struggle. Adivasi people grab the land and they declare autonomy. And one of the right-wing government, like the Congress government, and the Antony government evacuated them, and a couple of people died in that fight. And later you can see the Chengara struggle, that's the larger middle Kerala struggle started. There is a peculiar change between Mutanga struggle and Chengara struggle. We can see there is Dalit groups and Adivasis, and there is a totally polyphonic ethnicities coming towards to the forefront of the struggle, and they are making a common platform. The division between Dalit Adivasis is disappearing. So this kind of, now it is Aripa struggle, this is Mayapadi struggle. There's several struggles are going on. And my immediate inspiration to make this film, after the Chengara struggle, after 2006, there is an offshoot Dalit movement came out of the Chengara struggle as DHRM, that is Dalit Human Rights Movement. And after emergence of that movement, all the Communist Party, all core corporates, all the big newspapers portray them as terrorists. I initiated a huge Dalit hunt, and the people fiercely tortured. And there is a police station in Kerala called Katinagulam, which is called the Gundanam Bay of Kerala.
And, really?
And
what
I,
is it?
Gundanam Bay, Kerala. And I know about that. This film is actually, the immediacy of the film is coming out of that incident. Then I feel like I had to do something. So I started really thinking of making a movie about the land struggle and all these people was always in my thinking, in the background, while I was shooting even Shape of the Shapeless here in New York City. I was writing this film.
Okay.
So it was started like in 2008. I started to write the film and finish it like 2011, and about 4 years, and end of 2011, 2012 we finished shooting. So it's like a 4 years period. I work on this film consistently. So, and also it is not depicting one moment. And what I did, this all incidents really happened, but it is not in its details. So in several moments, I, actually using my narrative freedom to consolidate in a story. Stories have its own logic, right? So I take about 2 decades of Kerala Dalits history, and to that history I superimposed a narrative. But within the narrative, even though it's fictional in certain level, but things, events happen in history in real time, totally in chaotic way. But if a storyteller, you have to tell it in a cohesive way.
Yes.
And there is, I have this challenge, the fiction and non-fictional. If you can see that when I do documentaries, I have to fight against the odds of what is documentary. So Shape of the Shapeless, even you says it is a documentary, actually it has the artistic quality of a fiction. I insist the framing and the coloring and everything supposed to be is ultimately an art form. My huge challenge for Papilio Buddha is a political film, but I don't want to make a pamphlet. I don't want to compromise aesthetically. So that struggle always within. So I think I tried to answer your question.
You capture Gandhian politics. So one of the controversies around your film was the critique you offer of Gandhian politics. But even within the film, you get to see a kind of ambiguity about Gandhian politics, because within the Dalit movement, you have the father figure, Shankaran's father, who proposes a non-violent resistance against the state. And then we have the younger generation led by Shankaran, who kind of, stresses the need for a more violent protest against the state. So we were wondering about, what does this dissent regarding political conduct within the Dalit movement itself signify? And also whether you intended to show a kind of shift away from Gandhian politics to a more Ambedkar and Iyengali, the politics proposed by them. And would that...
Yeah, that is a very important question. And let me tell you one thing. The Gandhian politics is, in India, all politicians are Gandhian mode. And Gandhi is Hindutva mode. And Gandhi is the grand and effective, successful Hindutva propagator ever seen in India. Gandhi is a Hindu fundamentalist. And Sarvakar also a Hindu fundamentalist. And BJP and all this, even Marxist party, is Hindutva party. And in Indian politics, of course, Congress is. And in Indian politics, you see the saffron is a color, and all other parties are the gradation, different gradation of this. Even we can see that the anti-colonial, the national narrative of India is based on Sanatana Dharma. And what Gandhi was always a Sanatana Dharma. Gandhi was narrated, not single-handedly, different elements, narrated Indian nationality based on Sanatana Dharma. So that is first fixed. E.M.S. Namboodiripad is one of the greatest Gandhian, and any Marxist party. For Gandhi is coming, Gandhians in that particular film is coming not particularly Congress politics, or Gandhian politics, or Anna Hazare mockeries, or whatever. But this is a larger symbol. In the film, I take a strategy, a rhetorical strategy, which is put something, a shot is very, very documentary mode and very realistic mode, and the next shot, there is a pattern, next shot will ticket that reality, and that actually that narration is make it unreliable by the next shot, and actually that pattern consistently in the film, and this Gandhi. Sometimes these Gandhians and this Topiwalas is totally out of place. But it is not surrealistic, it is not magical realistic. But I layer these things in that level, a strange mix of absurdity and reality. That is the life, really. So I can say, when I am critiquing this kind of grand Indian consciousness, grand Indian national narrative, which Gandhi is very easy symbol I can take. But by Gandhi is integrating everyone into that the grand narrative of Hindutva, which was very fresh, new concept and new construct. It is a colonial construct. That construct I want to problematize in the film. So Gandhi is very easy access, symbolisms of Gandhian attires and justice of Gandhism, which is we can see across the party line, even to BJP, even Anna Hazare to EMS, we can see that. So I use this Gandhi as kind of a tool to express that particular, to identify or to mark that India's
the mainstream kind of politics that we're practicing. Yet you show a move from that.
Yeah.
But within the Dalit movement.
Yeah.
So that is
the second part. Dalit movement is like the thing is that Buddhist, the identity political movement in Kerala, even which was very strong in Maharashtra, even Chhattisgarh, you can see the all around the movement was. Ambedkarist movement was there, but in Kerala it was not even rooted. In 1986 or something, Malayalis started to read Ambedkar because they had just translated to Malayalam. In 1992, even actually it's published. It's not available at all. Recently, Malayali Dalits started to read Ambedkar. Recently, they invented Ambedkar. You can see that after that, in 2006, DHRM, the Ambedkarist real kind of militant Buddhist movement started. They went to these colonies and started to convert people. And everyone is so afraid. These people, this to 20,000, 25 and 500,000, 25,000 and 500 colonies of Kerala are the muscle pool of all parties, even RSS, Marxist Party and Congress. And DHR movement was actually scares the mainstream political parties because their muscle pool is draining out.
Yes.
And these people, what the DHRM is an Ambedkarist Buddhist movement. They started de-addiction centers. They started their own homeschooling. They start something called Agarthalam at night. Everyone after the work they get together and start to talk about their destiny, and they start to talk about how to teach their kids, how to deconstruct the present history, how they can unlearn what their kids learn from the school.
It's very Freudian idea.
It was. That's why they hate this organization. That's why they frame them in Varkala case and they start to hunt them. That's the real reason. If they are extremist people, if they pick up any bomb or guns, it's easy for them to suppress them. So this scary thing for RSS, because I also DYFI, also Marxist Party, also all this in Varakala Todua colony where I went. That place actually initiated this kind of the huge struggle, the movement, and that colony was controlled by Shiva Sena. And all these Shiva Sena members, Shiva Sena, from Mumbai wala Shiva Sena is there, and they are running an ambulance service there, and these people are Dalits. They're working for Shiva Sena. The RSS people are Dalits. The CPM people are Dalits. When the people fighting, the both sides, who is dying, the Dalits. And most of the people, the people who's controlling the illegal alcohol, and also the controlling the drugs, ganja smuggling and everything. So, and quotation gangs, the gangsters for the killing gangs, quotation gangs, all this from these colonies. But who is beneficiaries of this gang? And these beneficiaries are mainstream political parties and other industrial mafia. I mean, whatever who control the finance capital in Kerala right now. And the displacement is something the land grabbing is rooted to the colonial time. Even Harrison Plantation was having these huge acres of land, and that land, Chengara, the Chengara people start to squat it in that land. And in Mapadi is also another Harrison Plantation land. And this corporate, even the colonial corporate lobbies, the corporate companies since the colonial time, they're still having this land, and they're still the changing governments or right-wing or left-wing or middle group or whatever ruling they're having, they're getting their cuts and they are doing favor for these people. But the mining companies stepping in, the stone quarry mining, red stone mining companies, they were also grabbing these people's land. And also these adivasis in Kerala, you can know how they became landless, because that is the colonial remains. Actually, the forest land, they don't even consider they own the land or anything. Then the British government declared all the forest as the government land, and the people who lives there became homeless automatically. And but India signed the UN Treaty of the Autonomy of the Indigenous Land thing, and that provision was evoked by Kerala first in 1992 by Adivasi leader C.K. Janu and Gandhian. That is the beginning of Kerala, the Dalit land struggles, like a real aces and a bomb, and the people realize, and the Dalit intellectuals, not the Marxist or Maoist leaders. These people really strategizing the practical struggle, and they find out they look the survey numbers and find out the real lands where it is extra and all this kind of, they find out and go. In Mapadi struggle, what they did, they find out this land is not belongs to even technically corporations or government, or it is not forest land either. And they identifying this land and they start to squat. But before, you can see the real struggle after Ingali was all done by the left Communist Party, but who was fighting all the struggles. In Vaira, Punapura Vaira struggle, you can see the Dalit people died, and 75% of the people died, the Dalit people. And the leader of the Communist Party then, Stalin Patra was a Dalit leader, but after that, what they did to him, they just demoted him as a local branch committee, and he died alone because he's Dalit. And the caste system is practiced by Communist Party very fiercely and very effectively. And I was talking about this, the Communist Party is one of the caste organizations in India. And Politburo of Communist Party is 99% is upper caste and one female. And also that I'm talking about, when I say that the Hindutva politics in India is across the party line. And also if they are revolutionaries, and why this so big huge gap in Kerala, because the Kerala Dalits are controlled by upper caste communist people. They are all these leaders, Communist Party's leaders, are coming from the feudal background. Even Achuthamenon to EMS to Govinda Pradas to PKV, to all these people are like Nair railroads and liberal people, liberal middle class liberators, and liberators being gods in the walls of Dalit huts.
EMS.
So, but that sort of also brings, I mean, it kind of makes us question, then who are these people voting for, the people who are engaged in Dalit land movement in Kerala? Aren't they voting for any of the mainstream parties then, like Congress, the left and others? Because since both these parties seem to be actually victimizing them when it comes to the right to land, are they shunning these both the political parties, or?
Traditionally, Dalit vote banks are exclusively for Marxist Party.
Yes.
And there's exclusively, there is a fringe Maoist movement in the 70s, but there is no effect. It is a very small movement within some Adivasi elements are there. But always the left especially CPM, predominantly beneficiaries of this constituency. Right now, the left realized that their soil beneath their feet is draining out, because now the Dalit people start to develop a mistrust on the left. And right now, that is why this independent movement start to come. Then the Shengra first voice is coming out from Janu, CK Janu and Adivasis. They've organized. There's some Maoist element in there, but Adivasi Gautra Mahasabha reject all these major political parties. And then Lahaga violence, Chengra struggle. He reject all the major parties, but he is more cunning politician. He was bargaining with cutting deals with the Congress party and Marxist party also.
So why, in that case, my question is, why don't we see very strong caste-based movements in Kerala, like, I mean, political parties like in UP and other places?
Now it's coming. Right now, the DHRM is the beginning of it, I think. It is just starting.
Okay.
Why this caste politics is very late in Kerala? Because the Marxist party.
Yes.
Marxist party really suppressed all this movement under their wing. Right now, they're splitting away, they start to form. It is going to be like caste-based politics is a reality now. It is the beginning. Now, last election, the DHRM put their candidates in all the constituency, and some areas these people raised like a 60,000 vote and everything. That scared Marxist party to death. So they want to kill this movement. Right now, these people also are playing the same game as Mussolini plays, or Kerala Congress plays. Now, actually, the Dalits and Adivasis start to gain some collective bargaining capacity in this political. I don't know it is going to bring anything, anything fruitful, but of course it will be an empowering tool. And a caste can be, not only caste is a tool of oppression, now caste is a tool of empowerment. And I don't know how positive it is, but it's a reality.
One question regarding this political struggle bond was the gruesome gang rape that you portray in the film. So, was the gendered violence depicted to convey the message that power politics will always be exerted on the body of women? And also, how central is the incident to the narrative of your film?
Very important. Actually, that is very important issue in India right now. Actually, female body being treated in the public space in India, it is ridiculous. India has become a rape nation, always been a rape nation. And actually that now 1 or 2 cases come out and we celebrate it and we take it to the street, is all positive things. But when only particular class people, particular group people get hurt, because the Delhi girl was actually modern, vibrant youth of India can easily relate. But in India, rape is always a mode of social control, legitimate mode of social control. And upper caste men always consider, that is publicly accepted fact, the Dalit female body always like a object of desire or always like that treated. And also the gang rape, that is punitive rape, I call it.
Yes.
And it's actually punitive rape is a reality in India. It's not only in the particular issue which is based on Chitra Leha's case. Chitra Leha is an auto driver and she is constantly harassed by Marxist party Buddhas there. And that particular incident I depicted, not the real incident, and she had the similar kind of attack, not the details.
Right.
But in the details, I want to make it an exemplary, it is a representational incident for all over India. It's just like a...
so it's not one real incident, it is
represent several things in there.
Right. So, keeping to the question of sexuality in film, your film depicts a spectrum of sexualities, from heterosexuality to homosexuality to bisexuality. My question here is, how much of the sexual politics that you depict in the film, because it appears that you depict in a way to show that Kerala is predominantly considered to be a heterosexual society, and that's why you have these vignettes of homosexuality in the film. I mean, they're very fleeting, but they make a mark in the film. How much of this politics is actually influenced by your own queer identity, first of all? And second, even though the film fleetingly shows homosexuality, but we are struck that this is mostly practiced by outsiders, like the Jack the American or these upper class elite women in the NGO, barring Shankaran, who is a rare case, who is actually engaged in homosexuality. It kind of appeared, or we sort of thought that maybe your larger concern is not so much homosexual politics or homosexuality, that is subsumed within the larger structure of caste politics. And homosexuality becomes marginal to the dominant concern of consolidating caste politics in the film, right?
Yeah, but that film is not really about homophobia or anything. In 2000, I wrote a book, one of my collection, published in Kerala, named Polymorphism. That book was dedicated to two adivasi girls who died in Todura, near Todura, Manju and Ragini. And these two lesbian couples, was local police take them to, they are not sophisticated, middle class, JNU dropout or anything. These people are, they don't even know they're lesbians. They like each other, they want to live together. And these two girls were taken to the Todura station, and the cops harassed them, and that night both of them go and die, kill themselves. And I published into this incident has happened in 1998 or something. I published that poem on the collection in 2000. So I'm talking about this happening across the class line, across the religious line. And sexuality, Malayalis live in its full spectrum. But our prudish literature only portray heterosexuality. And sexuality itself, like for me, the people who is eating early breakfast, or late breakfast, or lunch, that's the same thing, people having sex. My camera is not stopping in a particular thing. It's a part of the roadside attraction. And I'm not even focusing only I'm focusing on the Shankaran and Manjushri initiation. That is kind of, I take a kind of, it's a realistic take on within, I want to evoke some Tantric rituals which was really part of Kerala Buddhist tradition. And Shankara is not, the name is not just EMS Namboodiripad. Shankara is also for Shankaran, Adi Shankaran, who hegemonically appropriate Nagarjuna's theory of Madhyama Darshana and is pulverized as Advaita. That is the base of new Hinduism, which was I'm hitting within that lineage of philosophy, and also the historical hegemonic appropriation of that. And also, EMS Namboodiripad in 1980s is one of the great plenum of Marxist Party was claiming that Adi Shankaran also an idealist like Hegel. And he wanted to bring Adi Shankara to the Marxist philosophy and lineage too. And there is how I'm seeing that Marxism-Leninism in India, which is how the Hindu are integrated and how Hindu symbolism is coming. One of the CA2 leader from Bengal critiquing EMS Namboodiripad and wrote a book about that. And I forget the name of it. It is that. And T.T. Sivuma, in that particular article here, he also bringing that issue. So the lineage of these three Shankaras also not an accident. And this Manjushri, the girl's name is Manjushri. Manjushri is not just Manjushri. Manjushri is the Bodhisattva with a sword in the hand.
Okay.
In Buddhist Tantric tradition. And one hand is Prajna Paramita. another hand is sword. And this kind of Buddha is that girl's name. It's not an accidental. And the film has a political layer and a philosophical layer, and with the historical layer too. So I have a lot of, I try to play it in different levels, but it necessarily everybody is supposed to be communicated through that.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
So it is not an accidental. So I cannot just explain away all these things. It is there.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe it
Is that the question?
answers the question about if homosexuality then gets subsumed within the larger structure of caste politics.
Yeah, of course, sexuality was really homophobia or anything focus on that film at all. But I'm just a person who is dying, drowning before the last breath taking. I want to tell a lot of things. So this film, probably, I know they're going to completely ban me to make another film there. So I'm just trying to push it in there. And also people asking me this question, are you homosexual? Are you heterosexual? What I am kind of a trisexual. I cannot, why people want to put box any kind of sexuality. Even the homosexual identity politics, I have a problem with it itself. What is the gay politics? There is nothing called rigid thing. It's everything very fluid. I'm a person who is very fluid and an advocate of fluid, not because of that that I propagate. I observe that it is very fluid, and we don't have to box people. And if I have to shake your hand, I'm Jayan, I'm a heterosexual. If anybody said that, or somebody says, I'm a poet, I'm a gay poet, I'm a gay filmmaker. Why we have to say that? Heterosexual people come out and doing this claim. Before they, now we are using gay, our sexual orientation as a prefix to your name, or the gay artist or gay writing. But that personally, and I respect the gay politics or gender politics, everything is there. They have politics and its own space and its own constituencies. But in my opinion or my experience, there is no meaning of the boundaries.
Okay.
Our next question is about your portrayal of NGOs in the film.
Yeah.
You are very critical of the NGO which is working for the empowerment of the dalits in that area. And is your attempt to tell that the NGOs who work for these communities are kind of out of sync with their lived realities? And secondly, also you portray the casteism within the NGO movement of these people supposedly working for the betterment of lower caste communities. So can you tell us a little bit?
Sure. That's a great question. And a lot of my people, my friends are NGOs. They're very nice people, very hardworking, very sincere people. I use some stereotypical element of funding politics and this NGOization, some element. I use it to critique myself as a filmmaker. And actually that is a mine. I mined as a landmine within the film. I just planted against me. As a filmmaker. There's a filmmaker character, and the NGOs leader advise your job to finish a film. And you have to empathize with the subject. Don't ever provoke them, just observe them, do your shit, get out of it. That thing, that mentality, what the hell I am? What I am as a filmmaker, I'm just doing an authentic voice of dalits of Kerala. No, I'm just a fucking filmmaker. I'm nothing else. I'm just making this film. My job is to finish this film. I hate this word activism and all kind of shit. I'm not that. I'm pure. I'm just a person who don't believe a lot of irrational things, but I don't believe a lot of rational things either. And I can. I'm just a storyteller, tell my story. I'm an anarchist. I love my anarchism. I celebrate it. I don't want to be part of any kind of political ideology. Just a pure storyteller, telling story. So the same thing, the voices of Papilio Buddha, that film, is the representation of the reality. It is not the reality. But in order to critiquing my own film, my own making of Papilio Buddha itself, kind of enjoys it. And so when I am doing critiquing NGOs, really not, I'm getting out of that. It's self-critical.
So it's just, so I think we don't have much time, so we'll just move to the last question. Finally, I find Shankar's character to be a brilliant character. At least we've been discussing that you are a brilliant filmmaker not because of your portrayal of land movement, but just because of your portrayal of Shankar's character. Because here is a character who is a kind of misfit, who has dropped out of JNU, who doesn't belong to the movement as such, who doesn't join initially, who dreams of going to the US with his lover to pursue higher studies. But then he has that particular incident in the party where he's humiliated, and that's how he starts reading Kancha Ilaya's Why I'm Not a Hindu. And that brings about a kind of transformation in his consciousness, and he starts thinking that he's a Dalit after all, and he has to join the movement. And around the same time, we find there's a kind of awakening of his heterosexual desire with Manjushri. Now, my question here is that here is a character who doesn't really belong to the movement, and as a filmmaker, you very brilliantly capture his angst. Does that suggest subtly somewhere that all these kinds of identitarian politics do not leave any scope for any kind of personal choices and preferences? That finally you will be subsumed within that larger structure of movements where you're no longer an individual Shankar or Shankaran who can dream of going to the US and pursue higher studies, who can do nothing, just sit idle, just smoke hash. One who has to finally commit to a movement of this kind in that particular scenario. So is it, in a way, you're critiquing these movements as well?
Yeah, actually, in a way, when I remember that I have a short time life with the Marxist-Leninist movement in India. When I was very young, even that time, I was doubting myself, what the fuck I am doing? What is the difference between me and someone I hate who is preaching about God's kingdom come to these people, the poor, the bamboo cutters of Puyanguti. I was working with them, poor guys, they're working hard. They 1 or 2 months live in the forest and come back with, they're taking their rice and all this thing, they cook there, they don't even see nobody, their family or anyone, and they come back. And that eat bamboo workers for actually supporting the Naxalites in the region, very few people. And when our classes comes, all these dialectical things comes up, and what is the main dialectics of the production forces and production relations, or the suppressed nationalities of the grand Indian nationality. What is the self-determination of the Punjab, or self-determination of Kerala, or this new democratic kind of revolution happening within separate social national identities, and we are supposed to have, with the self-determination of this nationality, we are supposed to have very loose federalism. That kind of, where we are discussing this, we are discussing this in an uneducated bamboo cutter's home, with actually drinking the tea. That poor lady work all day and night in the paddy field somewhere, and she bought this chai podi and tea powder, and make the tea for us. And she feed us by her. I mean, she work hard. She is not feeding her kids, and she feeding our comrades there. But that kind of, and I know that I study Marxism Leninism by the study class of Cherian and all these people. And what I'm born in a typical middle class family, and kind of rebel against the parents, and and I think I'm going to change this India and change the world. And this kind of people, they're very phenomenal people. They just come there occasionally and they disappear and go back to their after their graduation from the schools and everything. They disappear to their middle class comforts usually. If I study the movement, the history of the movement in Kerala, everywhere you can see that the passing intellectuals comes and goes, and these people are still staying there. These people were there from Sakhav, the comrade Krishna Buddha started the Communist Party there. You know? These people, the same people supported E.M.S. Namboodiripad, the same people supported Toppil Bhasi, and all this middle class liberators. You know? These things was right there. But this, as a character, Shankaran is most of these black and white narratives in Indian cinema or fiction, a pure, blemishless character introduced and raised up and became a real leader. You know, this guy is full of flow, and he is a smoker, and he is also, and even he realized that when the humiliation come to touch his bone, he realized it, and he still not joined with her that much. And also this, she was hunted by this man, and he's also seeing Manjusri as a meat and commenting on her breast, and it was like always. I mean, that kind of thing. Ultimately, he's a Kerala typical male and a STSC male who get the reservation, happen to go to some education, and also not that much aware of fierce Dalit politics, but trying to pass the line, the pass out. In American, we know the passing out of the race line, the same as the passing out of caste line. That was huge thing in Kerala and all over India. Once you get a great job and you get educated and you get hook up with a Savarna girl or a Syrian Christian girl or
True. And you
written Dalit youths are out there. They're very politically, they some people say it's over-politicized, but politically very conscious kind of person, like Manjusri in the film. So she is totally determined about her destiny, and she is aware of her history, and that kind of people are out there. But Shankaran is kind of an old figure, and there are a few people like that.
Right, because it so happens now in India, as we notice, that anyone who is born into a Dalit family or untouchable family would have to be somehow, would have to subscribe to Dalit politics. But this might not be the case always and necessarily, because there are individual choices and preferences which are often sort of ignored for the larger cause of politics, of this kind of politics. So that's why I asked, because this character reminded me to an extent of Satyajit Ray, some of the characters who are very tangential to the politics of the time, like Naxalite politics or something, middle class youth in Calcutta who are aware of the politics but who are responding to it very tangentially, not necessarily overtly being politicized by the movement.
But this character is, I didn't make him an activist, full kind of an activist, and a lot of Dalit friends of mine who is intellectuals, activists, very strong political opinions they have. They're critiquing me like, why you pick a character, make that character like that? You are undermining all these progresses our Dalit intellectuals and the Dalit movement attained. And this, my question is, I don't have any answer for them to say that, I'm sorry I didn't depict you, because that is my character ultimately. Shankaran is kind of fictional element connecting everything, which is I inserted in. There is no kind of a Shankaran figure. But Pokudandan is real.
The father.
The father figure. But the Shankaran is a character I created with taking a lot of elements from the real activist people, but also there is a lazy, a pothead, an anarchist Shankaran, that is me. So all the dirty things what you see in there, that's me.
And that's why it's such a brilliant character. It stands out as a brilliant character, and it also shows your brilliance as a filmmaker. That you could have otherwise created a character who is completely sort of committed to that movement from the very beginning of the film, right? And I don't think that would have been that appealing as a character anyways. Yeah.
And his character is, and the end is, he is totally disabled. He run away. Some are captured by cops. If the final scene you didn't see, he is in the van. But there is a shot of this film. He's run away. He runs away. He totally gone. But I didn't use the shot in the final cut.
Oh, that would have been very interesting.
Very interesting.
Sure, really, like, the ambiguity would have come full circle then.
Yeah. But it's very much there in the narrative.
Yeah.
Somehow even there.
And the final shot, these people are going, and this guy is like watching people going from behind. He escaped. He never get caught, and watching from the top of the hill, and he's like a little bush. He's watching everything. He's not even going there. And that was like that was my ideal character, a social coward, and also have this kind of initiations happen sometimes. And when you get burned, you will tell us.
Exactly.
That is the most of the intellectuals. And Tejpal to Kanur Senyan. You can see the history of Indian political intellectuals.
Joining us, and all the very best as you take your film to Berlin and for all your future ventures.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, and very nice to talk to you.
It's our pleasure. Thank you.
And stay tuned for more Cafe Dissensus conversations in future. These are mostly informal because we don't have the equipments, but we are very eager to talk to people and get them to you.